So is it or isn't it? Is it or isn't it what? Is the Vancouver real estate market crashing? We brought that question up last month in our market update, and we didn't want to jump to a conclusion. We needed more data, and guess what? We've got some of that now. We want to dive into the March 2026 real estate stats for Greater Vancouver, focused on Burnaby East Van. I'm Brad Gannon from EXP Realty, and this data is going to help us find out if the market here is crashing. Let's get right into it. So, why is the March data so important? It's important because it's spring. It's crunch time. It's when the market should be its busiest. And over the last 10 years, I've noticed actually a difference from the first 10 years of our career, the first decade, where March, April, May were the really busy months. I've noticed the last 10 years that consistently, if it's going to be a strong year, you start to see that reflected in an uptick in January and February. So it's almost like everything happens a little bit earlier. So when we get into the March data, it's crucial to really show how the spring is going to shape up, and then the spring is going to really dictate the tone usually for the rest of the year. We saw that last year, not a stellar spring, a lot of softness through the remainder of the year. So this March data is going to be crucial to help us really know what's going on and where we may be headed. Now, what do the numbers say? Let's take a look. Okay, so let's start with Burnaby South. And I think one of the most interesting things that jumped out at me is consistency. Look at this, March 2026 compared to March 2025. 165 active listings this year, 2026, 166 last year. It's almost identical. February was similar. The needle didn't move much in terms of active listings. However, I feel that doesn't tell the whole story because we've seen a lot of sellers take their detached homes off the market because they weren't happy with where pricing was at or just tired of trying to sell and not getting an offer they liked. So I would say of this 167 listings on the market right now, there are more serious sellers, more motivated sellers than there was March 2025 from a year ago. I think that's a big difference that the numbers maybe don't show, which is good news for buyers. It's really frustrating when sellers are unrealistic and haven't adapted to the change in market. Now, the other consistency, sales, 15, 16, almost identical. February is the same, 11 and 12, just a difference of 1 and 1. Really remarkable, that consistency, but again, consistently poor, 30% below the 10-year norm. So way, way below trend in detached. And then the same thing shows up in condos. Total active listings 420, 427. Like, talk about consistency. Sales up a little bit, not very significant if you ask me, from a year ago. Listings trended up a little, just a little bit from February, not much of a change. What jumped out at me, though, probably the most in this report is this number right here. This is huge, 50% more townhome listings, active listings from a year ago. Really, really interesting. Now, to dig into that one a little bit deeper, let's scroll down and see what price range those townhomes are in. So if you get these stock packages from the real estate board, the way a professional looks at them or might focus on is these numbers too. What price ranges are active? So you see right here, what surprised me is that in the 400 to 900,000 range, there was only 2 sales and there's 21 listings. Now that is generally a really, really active price range. If we jump up to condos, we see that's exactly where the activity is. Look, 400 to 900, 53 sales, right? 53. That's means there's only about 6 months of inventory in that price range. As soon as you go over 900,000, it gets way slower, right? Only 9 sales. And I bet if you had a number of like 1.1 or 1.2, it would be way less again. And you see almost nothing moving above that. Well, why are townhomes under 900,000 not moving? Now, my theory on that is that those townhomes are either quite old, probably have a lot of assessments or things coming up, and they're small. They're probably only 2 bedrooms, and they're not what buyers are looking to upsize to. What we really see the trend in the market right now, and this isn't going to show up in the stats. This is from having boots on the ground, going into an open houses, fielding calls from potential buyers, and from talking to our own clients. The buyers that are out there right now are generally speaking, growing families, people that have another child or looking to upsize, or people that need a little bit more space. So those are the buyers out there. So that's my theory why they're finding the type of townhome that they're looking for in that slightly higher price range. Now, so that's Burnaby South. Let's see if some of those trends and statistics relate as well to Burnaby North and Vancouver East. So Burnaby North, the one difference I noticed is a bigger tick up in the inventory of the detached, up 200 and one from 177 from a year ago. So more detached homes. Sales ticked up slightly. So that's similar, but that's a lot of inventory. 16 sales a month with 200 listings. We've got well over 11, 12 months, 1 year of inventory, and that's in March. That's not a great place to be for the detached market. And if you see right down here, you see it's in buyer's market territory. Now, the remarkable thing I thought in Burnaby North was how the condos have ticked down 20%. This is significant, down to 500 from 644. And I'm going to guess that that's mostly from sellers getting a little bit tired, perhaps renting their places out instead of trying to sell, and not from a huge uptick in buyers or sales because prices, lots of pressure, slump prices down 10%. You will notice both the price of townhomes. We noticed this last month that the price of townhomes was holding up much better, but the same trend. Interesting, right? Up 30% year over year, the same as South Burnaby. This is one I want to keep an eye on. I'm going to be really interested in. Now let's go down to, let's jump to East Van and see what's going on there. Like East Van, it's not split up into north or south, so it's a little bit easier to get a big picture of what's happening. So the detached market, consistency again, check this out. The exact same number of sales as March last year. Exact same number, 600. That's amazing. Active listings down a little bit. Again, I bet from some sellers finally just throwing in the towel. But I bet of those 500 anyone, you're going to find a much higher percentage of serious or motivated sellers among them. The condo market has inventory 1 year changes down 11%, sales are down 14%, and you see prices down almost 5%. What about townhomes? The same trend again. So this is by far one of the most interesting things that jumped out at me this month. Is it's the only category where inventory significantly jumped up. And again, I think that relates to what I was already feeling, that the buyers that are out there are people that are living in spaces that are too small. So perhaps in townhomes, smaller townhomes that are looking to upsize to half duplexes or to get into the detached market, they see that opportunity. So, hey, maybe everybody was listening to my broadcast from last month and realized, hey, if you're in a townhome, this is the time to get into the detached market, and they put their places on the market. I would like to think that. Isn't that amazing? Consistency to 26 sales compared to 28 a year ago. Very, very similar. Prices down 9%, which in East Van for the townhome market, which is a lot more than Burnaby was showing. I also would like to just focus for a minute on price per square foot of the condo market. So this is your condo report, and that's going to be a little bit further down here. Yeah, average price per square foot. So you will notice for condos, it's really kind of trending down, and that is significant, I believe. We're seeing price per square foot. I don't pay nearly as much attention to that in the detached market, but in the townhome and condo market, it is interesting. We're starting to see it get down under, it's heading towards 800 a square foot. From peaking over 1,000, that's 20% difference. So, is the market crashing? Let's wrap up and see what takeaways we have from the data this month. So what are we taking away from the data this month? Is the market crashing? Well, I would say in the pre-sale market and in the condo market, yeah, absolutely. We're in a crash. I mean, it was a bubble, if you ask me too. Going back 2, 3, 4 years ago, I was warning people to be very careful with the pre-sale market, and that it wouldn't continue to generate the returns that it has historically, that there was danger ahead. A lot of people are experiencing that. A lot of people are experiencing losses on pre-sale, especially speculative purchases that they may have made. Again, if you're buying for yourself, different story entirely. But the pre-sale market, the condo market,
Uh, Severe to to the point I would call it a crash. Townhomes detached, not quite a correction, but what we can get from this data is I think the tone is set for this year. We're not getting the uptick that I hope for. We're not getting, it doesn't feel like we have bottomed yet. I'm going to go out and make that call now. We haven't bottomed. So, what does that mean for you? Well, two things. One, if you are a condo owner, a smaller condo owner, a one bedroom or smaller two-bedroom condo owner, and you're feeling pressure from your mortgage and from increasing rates and from inflation, you might want to consider acting now. Spring is going to be the best, I think, the best market we have this year. The good news is there are sales, prices are trending down. So you might have a condo now that's 450 to 500. You could look at that being worth 50 to 100,000 less, perhaps a year from now. I could see that happening. So just be aware that it's trending down. There's a glut of condos. There's a glut of new inventory. So unfortunately, I think that's not great news for people that are going to be looking to sell those in the next year or so. Uh, Other different takeaway for people that are looking to upsize. So if you are in a condo or townhome and you're looking to get into detached, I think that gap is never going to be better. What I'm a little bit concerned about is that that's where demand is, and that if you wait too long, that's what's going to tick up first, and that's where prices could start to trend higher. So I think we're going to have a tale of two markets as we go forward. We're really livable, inviting, attractive spaces in good neighborhoods with good outdoor spaces with three bedrooms or more. There's going to be strengthening demand and less demand for smaller spaces that are harder for growing families to live in. So you could see the prices start to move like pressure on one downwards and pressure one upwards, and that gap start to get a little bit more of a stretch. So I do think it, like we talked about in last month in some of our other videos, a great market for families that are considering upsizing. So those are some of the takeaways. Remember, we've been doing this a long time. The spring market, March stats are very important. Next month, April is going to be very important, and then and May. That's crunch time for the year. We'll be paying a lot of attention to it. We'll be keeping an eye on it. It is a tale that every market, every neighborhood, every product type are doing slightly different things. So your situation is going to be unique. It's hard for me to make an exact determination unless you reach out and call. So feel free. We'd love to talk about what's going on for you, what opportunities there might be out there for your family. Again, I'm Brad Gannon from the Brad and Theo team. Call us, make the smart move.